You're listening to Miss Style, Strength, and Grace with Deidre Murphy. This is your one-stop shop for style, fashion, health, and fitness. Deidre's passion is to help empower women to reach their fullest potential, both inside and out. Deidre and her guests will be discussing how to develop your style, health, and lifestyle hacks to energize your day and inspire you to keep reaching higher levels of success. Deidre is a professional fashion stylist, health guru, and Mrs. Washington 2017. It's time to get open and honest with Deidre.
Well, hello, and may I just say a very happy new year to all of you listening in today. Today is the first official episode of 2019, and as I sit here, it is the day after New Year's Day, and I am just ready to dive into 2019 goals, not only for things that I'm working on, from my personal goals, my health goals, but even business opportunities. And it got me to thinking about how to goal set, but specifically how to do it with journaling. So I know I talked about back in November on one of my Facebook live videos, how my husband and I sit down for an entire day and we goal plan out for the next upcoming year. Well, that's a whole different topic and we can dive into that in a different episode. But one of my goals for 2018 last year was to journal more. So I made it a goal to really be specific with my journaling, but also pragmatic about it and really consistent with it. I think that's with anything in life, is consistency is key. So obviously I had to make a goal that was measurable for the goal of journaling. So I sat down and wrote out how much and by when do I want to journal. And at that point, I was kind of doing a few days a week, at least one time, but I really wanted to up my journaling game. And I upped it to at least a minimum of one time a day, at least 5 days a week. And then if I was traveling, I would only do it on days where obviously I had the time, but I was also making the time. But on regular days at home, I usually journal about 2 times a day versus if I'm traveling, I'll bring it down to only 1 time a day, but just really still being consistent with it and hitting that 5 days a week. Why do I journal? I used to make fun of my old business coach. I used to be in a group business coaching program, and she always called it your morning practice. And I thought, I don't need to do that. That's silly. I don't have the time. I already am rushed for time in the mornings anyway, especially because I like to sleep in as late as I possibly can. I don't have time to block out 10, 15 minutes to do this so-called morning practice and ritual. And now for the last year, since I've been really dedicated to implementing it, it has been a game changer for me. And I can now see why she made it such a big point to create your own morning practice. Now, obviously, it has to be something that you can stick to and also something that works for you. When I first kind of started out developing my own personal morning ritual, at first I was just doing it in my head and just kind of visualizing and meditating. And now I've learned that I am better at writing. I love to write. I love to just purge all of my thoughts onto a sheet of paper. And this has just really been a really good way for me to kind of brain dump on a consistent basis. And like I said, I do it 2 times a day. And it just sets up my day for success. It puts me in a positive state. My husband can always tell the difference on mornings when I do journal versus mornings where I don't journal. And he'll even call me out on it. Like if all of a sudden in the morning, I'm just kind of in that like crankety, ratchety, like I haven't had my coffee yet state of mind. He's always like, did you journal this morning and do your affirmations? And I'm like, no, fine, I'll go do it. And then when I go do it and I come back out, I'm a totally different person. Actually, on Thanksgiving Day of 2018, we hosted Thanksgiving at my house, and I was in charge of obviously everything and making sure all the preparations were met. And because of that, I wasn't sleeping well on the days kind of leading up to Thanksgiving, you know, the holiday rush, like making sure, did I get everything I needed at Costco? Do I have enough food for everybody? And I think on that night going to sleep, I didn't fall asleep till around, 4 or 5 a.m. Didn't really sleep. Woke up at 6:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving Day. So only having a couple hours of sleep. And now I've got to host all of my in-laws and my family over at my house for Thanksgiving. Yay. Well, I was just obviously not in a good mental state. And I went and worked out morning of Thanksgiving. I was just kind of cranky and I was just like, I didn't get any sleep. And rah, 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 rah. And my husband called me out on it. He was like, did you do any affirmations and gratuity and journaling this morning? And I said, no. So after I did my workout, I actually grabbed my journal and went into the sauna. We have a infrared sauna in our at-home gym area. So I sat in there for about 20 minutes and just brain dumped. I did my gratuity, I did thankfulness, I did my plans for the day. What did I need to remember to put into the oven and by when? What else needed to be prepared? Did I have all the tablecloths ready and napkins out? And after doing this journaling for even just 10 minutes, all of a sudden I was in a much better state, especially on Thanksgiving Day when I needed to be in a state of thankfulness anyway. And it just made the whole day turn around. Even though I was tired, all of a sudden I had more mental energy and clarity by doing this practice. Speaking of that, like I said, it helps with my mental clarity, just helps me focus on like what are the big rocks that I need to accomplish or things that are bouncing around in my head, putting them on paper. Now I can visually see what I need to get done. And it helps me strategize, like what do I need to focus on today or the next day? It also does help with my insomnia. Specifically on that night right before Thanksgiving, I didn't journal before going to bed that night. So I had a hard time sleeping. I couldn't get those thoughts out of my head onto paper and really being able to clearly see, oh, that's not that many things to get done. I can do that tomorrow. And just really focusing on the task at hand. Now, for me as well, developing a morning practice like my old business coach used to talk about, it helps sets up my day for success, but I always do it before checking my phone or my email or texts or even social media so that nothing distracts or puts me in an anxious state first thing in the morning. I've heard the saying, and I did not make this up, so I can't take credit for it, but there's a saying called create before you consume. And I think that is so key, especially first thing in the morning. So you might be thinking, well, what do you mean create before you consume? For me, I have to create something positive in my life before I consume other things via social media or the news or my email. So I don't consume any of that information until I have at least created my own journal content. So that's my creation. And then also I love to work out first. So before I even turn my phone out of airplane mode from being off all night, I do my journaling, I get up, I go work out, I create that energy state for myself first before I consume any information from the outer world. And overall, it just helps me like seeing how to create the dreams that I want for my life, but also create like a checklist for my upcoming day and chunk down my goals into small actionable steps that I can work towards every single day. And it helps with my anxiety, stress, depression, prioritization, and if you have any sort of struggles with any of those things, which raise your hand if you've ever had stress in your life. If your hand is not up, I think you're lying. But it can even help track the triggers for stress or anxiety or food issues or things that you're struggling with, whether you're trying to lose weight. Like maybe if you track what's going on via a journal, you can figure out, oh, what are my stressors for when I go and crave sugar? Oh, it's being around my mother-in-law or this person or my boss. Like maybe I need to be more strategic about those times that I interact with those people in my life. So really tracking what your triggers are. Now that I've hopefully encouraged you to start your own journal or morning practice, I have some tips for getting started. After I give you my tips, I'm also going to share with you what I actually journal about myself. This is my little system that I've developed and I've taken and borrowed and begged and stolen from other people that are way smarter than me. So I'm just sharing with you what works for me. You're welcome to take what you want and use what works for you. Implement other features from, say, smarter people like Tony Robbins. That's where I got some of my base for what I journal about. So first, let's talk about my tips. If you're just starting out journaling or some sort of morning practice, try setting a timer. and just get yourself going. Get a blank notebook, little spiral notebook or whatever, even a blank sheet of paper. I prefer some sort of notebook just so it all stays together, and start with 5 minutes. Just start brain dumping onto paper. Gradually start from there, add a minute every week and just get used to it. I wouldn't go more than say like 10 minutes every morning, but obviously figure out what works for you. You could even buy a guided journal. There's one online called the 5-minute journal. I don't personally own it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Or there's even a 2-minute journal just to get you going on some positive vibes for your day. And you can find those on retailers like Amazon.com. And I wanted to share with you my personal morning and afternoon prompts that I start my day off right with. So in the morning, again, this is something I've kind of tweaked from Tony Robbins, and I start out with 3 major things that I'm thankful for. And I get really specific. I don't just say, oh, I'm thankful for my husband. Well, yes, I am thankful for my husband, and I'm thankful that I have a loving spouse and partner, but I get really specific. So like I said, we just got through the holidays. Yesterday was New Year's Day. And so I wrote in my journal this morning that I was really thankful on New Year's Day that my husband and I could chill all day in our sweats. I didn't have to put on real clothes or makeup or anything. And we watched a movie. We got to kind of chill on the couch with one another and even snuggle with my little Tinkerbell, which is my 7-pound Chihuahua. So I made specific memories in my journal about those instances. I didn't just say, oh, I'm happy and thankful for my husband. Then I like to do 3 major things. Then I like to do 1 small gratitude piece. So one day I remember journaling that I was extremely thankful for a cup of hot coffee on a really cold wintry morning. And although that seems really small, it helps us remember to be thankful for even the small things in life and to have gratitude for those little instances and just really see the blessings that are prevalent, especially in our society today. After I do my 3 things that I'm thankful for, plus my 1 small gratitude piece, I work on journaling about my 3 major goals. And usually I have 1 personal goal, 1 business goal, and then 1, maybe health or family goal. And these are things that I've developed already since my husband and I did that big goal planning day previously in the year. So I really focus those 3 goals kind of on my quarterly calendar as far as what I'm working for that quarter. And then even big picture, maybe 5 or 10 years down the road. That's usually more of my personal goal. And I'm not going to share what those right now with you, but I can share one from the past. So for instance, a couple years ago, one of my big major goals was to win Mrs. Washington. Obviously that happened in 2017. So when I would journal about it, not only did I just say, oh, I'm going to win Mrs. Washington, I had a date. I knew the date of the pageant. I knew when it was coming up. So I would journal about it and say, I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to be Mrs. Washington 2017 on May 20th in Olympia, Washington. And now I can share my platform about holistic health and wellness through my community and state and hopefully the nation. So it wasn't just a goal about what I wanted to accomplish, but envisioning and picturing myself having it happened. As I wrote those things, I pictured myself on the stage at that particular theater in Olympia, Washington. I visualized me wearing my gown, visualized how my hair and makeup looked, visualized the crown of Mrs. Washington and the sash getting placed on me. All those things with visualization really help not only bring those into our life, but put that energy out into the universe so that it comes back to us. And all of those goals not only are specific and measurable, but you need some sort of anchor in your head to really push yourself to reaching it. So like I said, my anchor was like being able to share my platform about holistic health and wellness to the world. And I anchored it to my brain by visualizing me receiving the awards and everything like that on stage in Olympia. And then as I get done with my 3 goals, I move into my 1-sentence affirmation. And then that's kind of how I wrap it up. I do all of that within about 10 minutes every single morning. My 1-statement affirmation is usually I am strong, talented, and beautiful. Make today a great day. And then I wrap it up. Now that's my morning practice. Now some of you might be saying, wow, you do that twice a day? Yes and no. So I also journal at night, and this is really what helps me deal with my insomnia and anxiety, because I can brain dump all the things I might be anxious about or remembering to do the next day. And that way I can chunk it down and kind of take a step back and say, oh, it's really not that much. If I can do this, this, and this big major things, the rest of my life and day is going to be easier. So at night, I review my day that happened. Now, when I say that I review my day, I don't go through every single minute detail, but I do go over kind of the big goals that I accomplished or things that maybe I didn't accomplish that need to be rolled over to the next day. You know, hey, I didn't accomplish A, B, or C. That's okay. I'll make it happen tomorrow. I'll call so-and-so tomorrow or write the email. And then I go through what I call my wins for the day. This is actually a little secret my husband started implementing with both of us. When he comes home at night, rather than hash out our day and be like, oh, and then this happened, and then this went wrong, or that went wrong, we talk about our wins. If we have something negative to say, we start out with that, but we turn it into a learning opportunity. So maybe something didn't go the way we wanted, but hey, what can I learn from it? What am I going to do different next time? I know on one of my most recent sales consults that I had, I didn't book the client, but I was able to record it and listen back to what I said and just take away from it. Okay, these are the things I'm going to change up and work on differently next time. So that's my way of viewing that as a win. But then we go into our 3 major wins for the day. What are the 3 things that we accomplished that we're really proud of for the day? Sometimes my big wins are simple, like, hey, I got a workout in today. I'm proud about that. That was my big goal for the day, and that's what I got done. To sometimes, hey, I made a great sale for my business today. That's a huge win. Whatever it is for you, I encourage you to write down your 3 biggest wins for the day, and then go into the next step, which is talking about your big rocks or things to do the next day. I wouldn't go more than maybe 3 big rocks that you need to do the next day, just because then it's too overwhelming and it becomes more of a to-do list, task list. And that's not what this is about. This is about focusing in on the big steps that are going to get you closer and closer to those 3 goals that you already journaled about in the morning. Oh, it all makes sense now, doesn't it? It's all coming full circle. So focusing on those 3 goals that will get you or 3 steps the next day that will get you closer to your 3 goals from the morning. After doing all that, then I wrap it up with what I call my paragraph of affirmations. So yes, I still repeat that same affirmation from the morning, that 1 sentence statement, and then I add on to it and I envision the life that I have for my husband and I, the state that I want to live in, and I want to live in a state of joy and happiness and fulfillment, visualizing that I see myself as thankful for freedom. And I talk about freedom not just in my personal life as far as being a citizen of America with freedom, but freedom for my business. Like, what does that really mean? Financially freedom to travel with my husband, to freedom to eventually have kids that we can bring into this world, or whatever it is for my life that I really want to bring to fruition. That's where I start to journal about it and affirm it in my mind. That's the whole point of an affirmation. So I encourage you, really brainstorm and dream build. What are the things that you want to have? What do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a certain house or live with a certain number of kids or have certain things in your home? This is where you can kind of dream build and write about it. I wouldn't go too much longer than about a paragraph, but this is a fun way to start kind of visualizing the blessings that you want to have in your life and even just the positive states that you want to live in. And I don't mean like state of Washington, state of California, but mental states. I always journal that I live in a state of joy and happiness. So that way, as I have something that maybe derails me during the day, I can bring it back to that and be like, oh yeah, how can I take this and spend it to something positive so I can live in a state of joy and happiness and bring that joy and happiness to others in my life. That is my biggest encouragement for you today, is to start a morning practice, maybe even incorporate an evening practice if you have time for it as well. Those are my things that I journal about, my prompts, my to-do list, and my action steps. Take it or leave it or incorporate your own. I would love to hear more about it. And journaling itself doesn't have to solve all your problems or all the world's problems, but just getting those problems out of your head and onto paper can stop the crazy sometimes and just get you focused on what you really need to accomplish. And I truly believe that journaling, even just using shorthand or bullet points, can truly change your life. So I'm eager for you to start journaling today.
Hey ladies, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. To help empower more women, please be a doll and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to stylebydeidre.com.